Okay, so Nicotine2 just shot up a video on YouTube Discourse. I really enjoyed that video. I thought it was so great. Please, people, check it out. I will put a link to it. I want to just take up the concerns that he raises, and I share them. I'm very concerned with this issue of the possibility of YouTube discourse, of people not just shooting fish in a barrel, of it being more than an argument between the dogmatists. Can't we have people get together with a genuine interest in knowledge and try to talk about what are genuine problems? What I'm going to try to do, and I'm going to make this as brief as I can, is I'm going to just try to identify 3 different topic areas that I would love to see some people engage and talk about. Okay, here's the first topic area, is number 1. I would like to see people really try to address in more detail and in greater sophistication this question of what traditionally has been meant by the notion of free will. I think even if we all can agree, and I think we can, that some notion of free will in the superlative sense, as a God-given capacity or something like this, by some monotheistic deity who's going to, use it to assess us at the end of life. All of this I think we can throw into question. I'm more interested in the question of what is that experience of freedom? That is, could it be the case that first language and then subsequent communication technologies have forced us to experience our freedom? That is, it's not an either we're determined or we're free. It's that we've been determined to experience freedom. And it has to do with, I think, the evolution of temporal openness that can be found at phylogenetic scales throughout nature. That is, as we move up the phylogenetic scale, we see increasing ranges of expansive openness to the past and to the future. By the time you get to humanity, with all of its capacities for timekeeping and management of anticipated future events, something like, meta strategies for heading oneself off and dealing with temptation, all kinds of other things. They're what we have come to call freedom. Now, it doesn't have to be freedom in some fantastical sense, but to wholesalely deny the sense of freedom for a reductive account of determinism, I think, is very erroneous. This is very related to the problem of memory. If we say that memory is simply subjective, we miss how nature evolved memory within the organism as a way of coping with increasing degrees of temporal openness. Memory is part of nature. We're just that part of nature which has opened itself through memory and into historicity. Okay, that was my first problem. Okay, problem number 2. I would love to see people try to tackle this. I've seen a lot of people now talk about materialist desires for consciousness in artificial form. So there's hardline materialists who want to propose that consciousness doesn't require anything other than material components. I think I can be on board with that. I'm going to suggest that yes, we are fully material and that consciousness emerges from some kind of interaction between material. The problem, though, is that as soon as people try to suggest that you're going to you're going to do a neural net download and you're going to put your consciousness into a machine, is that they slipped out of their hardline materialism, because I would just say immediately, well, it's not the right material. It seems to be the fact. I would love to hear someone argue about this. I mean, I've shot other videos on this. Can a robot give a hug? I don't know if it can, and yet touch and smell and taste, and will robots breathe? If they don't breathe, they'll never have consciousness like we will. And if I'm wrong, well, let's argue about that. I would love to hear why I'm wrong. I don't think dogmatically I believe that I'm right. This is my sense of it right now. I would love to hear some sophisticated people try to come back against this argument and suggest that even if the materials are totally different, and if this material constructed entity that is very sophisticated, it's something like Watson. Here again, I think the Watson thing was funny if people watch it. But if it doesn't breathe, it doesn't eat, doesn't poop, doesn't touch or have a sense of smell, to what extent will its conscious experience be remotely like ours? Part of me wants to say there's real problems there. So could it be possible for a computer to be conscious? Yeah, maybe. Would it be a consciousness as we know it, experience it? No, it's just not the right material. Okay, here's the third question. And this is the one that I would like to spend probably the most time on. I want to get at this question of what are the motives for people's beliefs in spirituality, the religious motivations. Now, I want to grant so much of what I've heard, and I've heard a lot of people on YouTube basically give this top-down argument. People say that people have made religion as an instrument of control and oppression over the next generation. It's sort of inculcated into the youth, and it's a form of dogmatic brainwashing, and the only reason that people are religious is because other people have taught them that and sort of instilled those beliefs. Okay, is that partly true? Yes, and I'm going to stress it. It's only partly true. I would want to ask, isn't there another motive? I want to say there is. I think there is a motive called transcendence. I think that humans experience transcendence. Now, we can get at this on a couple of fronts. Language itself is the first taste of transcendence. It gives us a taste for the eternal. And when I say eternal, I mean the non-empirical. That is, it's an eidetic realm that's somehow timeless rather than caught in entropic flow of time. Simplest example, if I set an apple out on a table, after a while the apple starts to rot. The apple, it ages, it decays. The word apple does not. The word apple does not age, does not decay. It's not subject to entropy. It's a principle of repetition. It's somehow negentropic in a way that the physical thing to which the word refers is not. Take the actual apple. If a friend comes over, I can split the apple with the person. If another friend comes over, we can cut that apple into thirds. After a certain point, I can only cut the apple up so small. There's a divisibility of material substance. We're going to have to be caught with this. Because it's material, it can't be divided infinitely. The pieces will be too small to be eaten by people at a certain point, or you get a little tiny slice. The word apple does not get divided up. If other people come unanticipated to a lecture, the material doesn't get divided by the people who show up. Somehow, words as negentropic, immaterial, eternal substance, even though it's caught within the acoustical blasts and all of the materiality by which those words are expressed, they seem to transcend space and time. I've raised this question on so many videos. I've never had one person really try to tackle it, and I'm so surprised at that. Irving Goffman says, of all of the things of this world, information is the hardest to guard because it can be stolen without removing it. What does that mean? Okay, thank you.